So Oath purchased Yahoo, so you have Verizon, Oath, and Yahoo, all nice, big, happy family. But there's over 50 digital and mobile brands globally just for Oath. There's like a couple hundred companies that all just entangle with one another. So when they're telling you they only share
With their friends,
with their subsidiaries and different people, you're sharing it not just at 3 or 4 different companies. It's going out all over the place. So you want to understand that. This one you're not doing anything internationally, are you? I have links because I do have people that do things internationally. One of the things, if you are doing stuff, like, Chile, when you said you were going to Chile and stuff, you can go to these websites, to these countries and get information. You could use Google Translate, but most of them have it in English already. If you go there, you can click and get it in English. Don't ever be afraid to go to something that is in a different language. I've gone up there where I've had to use Google Translate. For me, that's been the most robust.
Very useful.
I know there's some other ones that are out there, and there's one I think I have listed for Russian, because you were talking that. There's a different one for Russian that's supposed to be really good. But don't ever be afraid to go out and get information for other countries. Most of the time you're going to find it in English anyway.
When we were in Chile, the Twitter feed has sponsored links.
Mhm.
They were all in Spanish.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
kind of fun.
Yeah, but it definitely goes different. And I'll give you one company that I looked at called Cosmo. Now Cosmo, just so it's more a little bit relatable, Disneyland goes through one of their subsidiaries for all their electronics that they have at Disneyland for their electronics. And so the owner of that is a Philip Lau. And this will give me information on a company. Sometimes you want to know about a company before you go in if you're going to deal with them for something. So you can go in and get that. I got this from Bloomberg, and it was for free. And it pulled up who the key executives were for this. Now this is some old information. I actually do have a whole separate one where it's more current stuff. But 14 employees, this place is huge. There's a lot more employees than this. This is their headquarters, where all the money stays, where all the shell companies are. And then out of just going and looking at SEC for information, I go to SEC Info because I think that's a lot easier to use. But I was able to get, just from, the only things I had at the time were this name and this name. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I put them all together? And I actually didn't get as much over there because I was getting so much over here out of all these other companies that they had. I was able to get ownership information, what the titles were, who was on the board for these different various companies, and the percentages, as I said as well. A lot of that was SEC. Now, why this company was out of Hong Kong, and that's where this gentleman is from, they also have companies within the U.S., so they're going to be in that. But Hong Kong has a great, just like SEC, for getting information on the companies. In fact, they give you more out of Hong Kong than they do within the U.S. But I got all of that information off of just 2 names, and it was all public information. So there's, again, it's all out there. There are 6K. Oh, those are wonderful, because you can find out who their, what their different brands are, who their competitors are, who's the most important out of the company, because they'll put something why, where they foresee the company going, where they want to do.
What's the 10K, 6K?
10K, 6K. So it's within the SEC for the forms that they have to file, corporation forms.
Okay.
And there's a lot of different forms. So for me, I automatically go to a 10K, but I did go to a 6K not long ago. I didn't even know what it's called. I just know it's a 6K. And it's like, wow, that's got some great information too. You get their salaries, because they're public. So once you're a public company, nothing is just private anymore. What was interesting is I did a class, and I wanted to know more about Philip, because I'm like, he's got all these companies, plus there's more now, and they're now in Canada, is where they're out of. And so I got some great information, and I learned that I knew he had racehorses, because I read a article, and I'm like, oh, is he's got racehorses. Then I find out in Hong Kong he was on a list for several years so he could get his horses into this one place that they have in Hong Kong, which was you had to have the money and the horses. He got into it, and then his horse did very well. So what he started doing is naming his new companies after his horses. So I found that reading those magazines for the horse racing magazines in Florida. I found he's gone to Florida. I knew one of his horses retired in Australia. And I'm thinking, wow, that's another place I may need to look for this guy and get more information. But he's been such a wealth of information, and it's good to show. I just keep following him all the time. But it is interesting and very family oriented, even though a couple of the names are different. It's almost all family that's on the C level for his companies. So it is interesting, and again, all public, but it's taking that time to go read and see what's in there. So personal information, true or false? What do I have on this one? Does anybody know this gentleman?
Yes, of course.
Yes, you do. So this is one of your older.
He was treasurer of the Berkeley chapter.
Yeah, from 97 to 98.
97,
Wow.
oh, yeah.
So he moved, and I'm trying to remember where he moved to, because I had his Facebook, and we had some highlights that we got off of him.
Yeah.
We know where he was working. We just started looking at stuff, because get to know him, so I know where he went in 2016. So we were updating everyone by going through all my links that I had for him, very quickly. But here he is, and here's his role and how he got there, where he went to school. So it's another thing that if you have companies that like to showcase their employees, that is usually public information, because they want everybody to know, we got this great employee and this is what he's done and how much he likes working here, and they'll do profiles. Has anybody done that where they've worked? But so we went back because I wanted to make it a little bit more personal so that I could show who was there, and then we looked in Spokio to check him up and see where he lives, which is in Connecticut. He originally was in Oakland. I have his wife's name, and we'll talk about Spokio in a little while as well. But you can go out there. I mean, he donated to the boys' choir, is very involved in that, for helping for different projects and stuff out of the San Francisco Boys Choir. But I have all that information, what he was donating, how he was involved in it, donations, when you're donating, yes.
Is there a certain, isn't it a certain amount of money that what's public? I mean, if he only gives $50.
No, I've seen it low, yeah. It's not a
Depends on
lot.
what they publish.
No, this was not a lot, if I remember correctly. But it depends on where,
There's a
what
guy
they
from
publish.
Mozilla, right?
Mhm.
He gave to that, yes, I'm or 8, whatever it was.
Oh, yeah, see, I had to go through all this. Somewhere in here it talks about what he had done and stuff. But no, they will, they definitely, you can go into a lot of, just depending on what their levels are and what they're advertising. So again, I'm looking for public stuff. What are they gonna show? And I just got one gal that donated in Colorado, and she had only donated $50, and I found it where she had donated.
Yeah, sometimes they'll just list, these are the people who donated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it won't even list what you
And
donated. It's
again,
$5, they'll
this-
still list you.
Yeah, but we're getting, that's her interest. Her interest was for sheltered animals. So I know where she goes for coffee. I know where the Starbucks is that she goes for coffee. I knew where she went to school. I could go there for coffee, and I could be behind her and just start talking about, oh, I just got this dog from a shelter, or I'm looking for a dog to adopt. I could get that woman into a conversation and start asking her stuff. And there I go again, get information, that's all we are, is just a little information out there. So you stop and think about that.
Social engineering.
It is,
Oh, yeah.
and I love it. So the Spoke Now is another one which I really like, because you can get photos from Facebook, anything again that's public. All they get is all public information. They have a lot of great stuff. Spokio, are we still live? Okay, so we're gonna pass this and talk about this a little bit later. One of the things you wanna be careful of, let's do this. One of the things you wanna be careful of when you're looking at information where you're gonna pay like $5 or something. So I go into Spokio and I put in my business phone number. So it says Finnegan's Way, Sunnyvale, California. I'm not in Sunnyvale, California. I'm not quite sure how they got that, but that's okay. So then I'm like, okay, well, what else do they have that's associated with that phone number? And I come back and they have a landline, which is associated, well, that's what I just gave them. So this actually isn't AT&T California, so it's telling me this is old information because I switched over. Instead of paying $90 a month, now I only pay $20 a month through Verizon with the same phone number. So that's wrong. I know that's wrong. And again, it's sometimes when you're trying stuff, see what information you know. Now they have me located over Moffett Park Drive and 237 and 101. I don't know how I got there, but that's okay. I go down a little further. I don't have any family members. They don't know that I have a blended family. There are 8 children, 10 grandkids, and 3 great-grandkids. They're missing somebody. So we know that's not true. And then we go over and we looked at, we got a LinkedIn, and this is an old LinkedIn photo. Just so you, or not LinkedIn, LinkedIn photo. That's an old one. You go up and look at it. I have a whole,
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were on purpose not doing
no,
that.
I didn't do
Oh, me
anything.
too.
I thought you didn't want us to see your information.
No, I've not done anything.
Oh.
Okay.
Switch the,
Yeah, it went off just about the time you asked if we were
oh,
live.
yeah, you have to
Yeah.
re-trigger its,
Let's try this, see if that's gonna work.
There
There
we
we go.
There we
Okay.
go.
There we are. So that's an old photo of me, and I'm not quite sure how, I think I got that at AIIP, one of their sessions where they were doing photos. This one here, oh look, he's moving. So this is my Twitter. They have no personal information that they pulled up off of it. Now we look under the bio, but they're pulling that information off of LinkedIn. So that's where they're getting that. They look here for licensing for one rad. Again, that's all off of LinkedIn information. Now, LinkedIn, let's stop and think about that. The information that goes into LinkedIn is self-reported. Whatever I tell it, that's what it is. So you want to really be careful when you're looking at it. People may not want to put certain jobs up. They may want to embellish a little bit more on some other jobs. They may want to change some dates so it doesn't, if they're unemployed during a period, they don't want to look like that. They're going to change some dates or do something else. Whatever you get on LinkedIn is not a guarantee because it's self-reported. And I can tell you there's a lot of profiles up there that are not real profiles.
yeah.
So you want to be careful of that, even though it's supposed to be a nice professional place. They don't have any insights, they don't have anything on me. You can do it by name. Does anybody have a name they want me to put up on? You can do it by a username, and we could go, I don't show up. We'll do my daughter. She'll love me. How do I spell her name? G-A-B-Y. And I'm gonna put, let's get her name here. So we have Gabriella comes up. Now they're gonna show all these people with that same name, which is good. It's like, okay, well, let's go down here. And we're gonna pick in California. We have 150. Wow. This sometimes is fun because I'll have somebody call up and say, oh, I want you to find this person. You're gonna find them fast because there's not that many people with that name. Doesn't work that way. I'm just amazed at how many people are that way. So then I start looking, going, okay, I need to find her, and I know, obviously, because she's my daughter, we're gonna look for an area that she's at. There's a total of 14 locations. If we just go up here, there's 4 people in this area. And let's go San Francisco, see if that one comes up. 33, she's not 33, so we know that's not her. But it's, again, it's information. You have to know a little bit about somebody in order to get it. We can go over here and let's just do Castro Valley and see if anything, no results. Oh, that's interesting. She doesn't exist. Hayward, California. And again, it's playing around with it. Okay, there we go, we got her. So let's see the results. And again, because I know her is why we're catching it up. So sometimes you have to go through on age, or maybe if you know a relative, you may be looking for the relative. So we come down here, we have her living in the Fairview, the Hayward district, which she doesn't live there any longer, but that is an old address. That address is probably 11 years old. No, I take it back, it's probably 7 years old. And then we're going down to see if there's any more information, which, interestingly enough, she is socially out there. Let's see what the details. The one we'll show later on has got a lot more. I'm not sure why it's not searching on those, but normally you can get a lot more personal information, which is kind of good and kind of not good. Family, they got her with Billy Navarro. That is not her family, but that's one of her sister's mothers. So it's like, okay, you need to think about that. We don't have anything on the web. They don't have a lot on her, although they're saying 5 family members. Let's see if we can go over here and get, right over here, right in front of my face. So we have me. So I'm here, but I don't live in San Leandro, nor have I ever lived in San Leandro.
So why would that address be wrong? I mean, why would they find that?
So I'm connected. So what'll happen is you have, if you're connected, like if I maybe not lived with her, but maybe I used her address for something one time, it may have gotten reported in. Maybe I share a credit card with somebody. Maybe I've signed a note or something for them to financially, there's
Copay or
copay, yeah. So that then will come into play as an address for it. So if we look at, like last time I did, they let me look me up? I don't mind, no, maybe not. They used to be able, when you just would go to it, it would let you look it up. But I would then go to one of these folks to see, okay, are they related? This is, someone old enough to be her parent. I'd probably stay away from these ages because they're older. So I'd probably go there and start looking at that person to see if there was more information. We're gonna look at this guy, my ex-husband, no one better to do. We're gonna do that later. I'm just not so bad that I would do it on video. But we will go back to him later because that is gonna be lots of fun. Anyway, stay tuned for that one. So we're gonna go past him and we're gonna hit now, let's go back over to the Wayback Machine, your favorite. So it was started by librarians, and the librarians wanted to categorize the internet. So they started going out and they started capturing the websites. It is absolutely awesome. Do you all know the archive.org? Have you used it, Wayback Machine? Okay, good. Then I won't have to go on site for it. But this is a great one. They upgraded it last year, where they say 325, but I think they're at 429 billion captures now. They just keep going and going. You can go and request, if they haven't done one, you can go and request it. And this is worldwide, so it's not just a US, it's worldwide, so it's great if, again, you're looking into companies. Well, have they been in business that long? Before I buy something from them, let me go see if that website has always been up there for that. So you want to look into that and see how it's going. But it's fantastic. But they also have books and TV, music, some stuff on music. There's a whole list of things that they have, but it's archive.org. And that's also in the list that I have for you. LinkedIn, we talked about that. One of the things, if you're searching out and looking at someone at LinkedIn, you want to make sure, especially if you don't want them to know you're looking at them, that you are totally anonymous. And you can go in on your settings. Because if you don't, then what'll happen, do I have one here? Let's go up here. Let me just go in here to LinkedIn for you. We're going to forget about these guys. They weren't very helpful.
I had somebody that the other day, she was looking for a job. I was referring her, people I was referring, she told me, she's like, oh yeah, by the way, if they look at my profile, I'll know.
Yes.
Because it's part of their service.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So,
oh, that's interesting.
who's viewed your profile?
Yeah, there it is.
There's a lot of anonymous folks that look.
Yeah, and so mine is on private, always set. Now, I can set mine on private because I do a ton of searching on LinkedIn. So much that they wouldn't let me do it anymore until I started paying $300 a year.
Yeah.
So, darn them.
Is that
But-
the premium?
Yeah, it is. I think I'm a premium, yeah. And I'm the worst to be asking about that one. But what happens is you can do it different ways. You can go by title, which is to the left here for business owner in law practice from San Francisco, or you're gonna see who's actually looking at you. And I was here, I did a class not too long ago, and for some reason, I didn't have anyone that was not in private mode. I don't know why. I know I've had them. Oh, here's just like someone at this company. So it just depends, but I can see everybody, that's looking at me and searching, and then I get alerted. It'll tell me someone's been looking at you, or as soon as I pop up here, then it'll pop up. So if you don't want that, and you want to, anonymize yourself, just go up into your settings, your privacy settings, and you can get all that information and just click on that. But if you have a free account, make sure what you do is go back and click it back to your normal one when you're done searching, because if someone is coming in to look at you, as long as you're anonymous, you can't see who's looking at you. So you have to go change it back so that you can then see who is, if you're interested.
So, go ahead.
So if you're anonymous,
Yeah.
you can look at other folks anonymously.
Yes.
If they look at you, you're also anonymous.
No, they look at you and you can't see who looked at you. So you won't know. So that's why you want to go back and change it. It's kind of a hassle. I don't have to do that because I pay so much money. But if you have a free account, that's what you
So if you're looking for a job like I am,
Yeah.
and I want recruiters to see my profile,
Yeah.
I can't be anonymous, or they can always look at mine.
No, they can look at you, but what I'm saying is, you won't, so if I'm anonymous and he's looking at me and I'm going around anonymously, I'm not gonna see that he's looking at me. But if I have it clicked back to the, let's go back over here, so we can if I have it clicked back to my name and headline, then I'm gonna be able to see he's looking at me. But as long as I'm in this mode, I can't see who's looking at me.
Wow.
So as long as you're
Yeah.
looking anonymously, then you don't get that same thing applies to you from
Yeah.
somebody else.
So everybody else is anonymous
So,
when they're looking
so
at
they're
you.
gonna be you're not gonna know who's looking at you at all.
Darn.
And so,
Okay.
if you got somebody out there you're interested in, then
But you
you
can see
better.
from LinkedIn's point of view, it's like, okay, you're not gonna give us this information.
Yeah,
so.
again, you
No,
pay.
just curious.
Yes.
I'm like, just open a private browser, don't log in, search. I guess if you're not
Can't.
logged in, you can't get as much information? Oh,
You can't
okay.
search in LinkedIn unless you're logged in.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, never
Yeah,
mind.
that's a problem. It's just like Facebook,
Okay.
they want you to be logged in before
Okay.
they let you do things.
All right,
So,
thank you.
again, that, information. So here, we're gonna talk about privacy. Okay, so that's real important that you listen to this piece. Get ready to take notes, okay? So, there we go. We got it? Got all the notes? Okay, we're gonna go forward then. Okay, yeah, see, you were paying attention here. So, Twitter, now this is again in the handout. So sometimes when you're looking for information, or you're looking for tags, or you wanna know a specific thing, then you can just go over and look at this, and it's gonna guide you through that. If you're looking for lists, for tweets, for image searches, video searches, it's gonna tell you what you need to do so that you can do those searches. So it's just a really great thing that I found online that I'm like, oh, I'll remember that. Because I tell you, as much as I do this, I still have to go back to my, and those notes that are out, those originally started as my notes. And then I shared them with someone, and they're going, oh, this is great. So it's not anything that's real professional. You've seen it. It's not real professional. It's literally my notes and stuff that's up there. Now, when we were talking about Google, and I said how you search it and it changes, this is an old one that I did last year, maybe even 18 months ago. And I was searching, and I was looking at that, and I came up with 2,760,000 results. For searching like this, there's no quotes, I'm not making it easier to find anything. Then I went a year later because I wanted to update, and maybe it wasn't even quite a year, but I wanted to update my slides, and I tried to do that. And then that's what I got.
Can't see that, what's the?
That one is said 22.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 22. And you can see, I mean, I did a snapshot, you can see it's the same thing.
Wow.
And I go from almost 3 million that I'm getting, and then a year later, I'm getting 22 results.
What happened? Why did they go
I
off?
have no idea. This is where I watch those 7 letters. I don't know. I'm not real clear on how that went that way, but I have saved this because I really felt that it's like this is a great way to understand what's not happening. Now search engines, so Google is the number 1. Now, do you know what the percentage is of what Google finds out there? I mean, they're the most robust. How much of a percentage of the internet do you think that they collect and they're housing for you?
I'll say 50.
50. Okay, but you got any other ones? I should have brought it.
Let somebody else guess.
See, it's not that high.
Okay. So they are the most robust. Oh, I will give them that much. Okay, 3%.
Oh my God.
Seriously.
Oh,
3%.
and how much of that differs from the other ones, like Bing or Yahoo or something?
They're less, and they're different. That's why I keep saying, Google is robust. However, they can get different information that Google doesn't get. So when you're searching for stuff, don't just say, oh my gosh, Google doesn't have it, or I'm not getting as much as I thought I would. Go and check with the other search engines. At least check on 2 to 3 more. Now, that's important for me in my job to do that. But if you're really looking for something you want information on, go to another one, because they're going to collect something different. Even for InfoSpace, and I have to look to make sure that's still up. InfoSpace, or any of them that say they search these different search engines, you want to go and look, because they may pick something up you're not going to get. So always go and check on more than one. And then different ones, like Yandex is good for Russia, Ukraine, all Eastern Europe. That's all the places that's good for. And I do have a list that's international for search engines internationally, as well as social media, what the top ones are. So I list, I think, the top 3 or 4 for the particular country, and I have probably like 10 or 12 countries that are there. So you want to stay away from the search engines. Then this is when you go into another space, and this is when you have to go directly to a place. So GuideStar. Now I'll tell you about GuideStar. Do I have the thing here? No, I don't. Oh, I have them again. I'll take them out.
So before we forget,
Yes.
You searching, you doing stuff anonymously, so so those people, they don't know you're looking at them, can trace back to you.
So you have to be careful. Let me tell you on Facebook again.
I mean, don't be logging into your Google account when you're doing this. I mean,
Well, I don't log into my Google account,
Yeah.
but I tell you, I am probably the worst for just going and searching for stuff, because depending on who you're looking at and what information they can get, and this is why we go over, you're going to leave a footprint with Facebook. So when you're looking at Facebook, if you're looking at someone and you go back there, and I am not sure, because I'm sure they change it all the time, but say I go and look at someone maybe 2 times, maybe 3 times that I'm looking at an individual, I'm then going to pop up, and there's people you may know.
Oh.
And so I'm always looking for who are these people that I may know that I have a 0 connection with. Those are the ones that have have gone up and have, maybe accidentally, it could happen, but you want to look at that. Now what's interesting, and I again don't have any proof on this one, and I haven't taken the time to go talk to people and get the answer for it, but I was at a funeral up in Utah a couple months ago, and I'm with people that I don't associate with on Facebook, and I don't even call them, but I'm with them. And when I got home, it was after a week, I found 4 of the people that pulled up on people you may know that came up. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. I also, mine is marked so you can't search me. You're not supposed to be able to search me and get me, which it is hard, because I've had a class try and find me. I had 2 guys that couldn't find me. And then I had a friend of mine that's on a soccer team, because I play soccer, and he's next to me, and I've never seen him come up in people you know. And I said, no, you can't find me on Facebook. He goes, you can't? Now we're sitting next together. He's on his phone. He does have my phone number. He's looking through it. He finds me immediately. Immediately he finds me. He shouldn't have.
So these people that you went and saw, they looked you up, and that's how they showed up?
I don't know. I think it's really kind of
It's
odd
GPS.
that some of these people would be, because I could have came up into them, people you may know. I mean, it's kind of weird. I don't know how that works. I honestly
GPS,
do not.
do you turn off your location services?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If I'm traveling, especially by myself, I leave things on, so if I ever die, people are gonna find where I'm at. Just because, unfortunately, that's the gruesome part of my world of, you know, when you have murders and how you get your evidence and what you can get from, you know, your Fitbit, so I keep those things on when I'm traveling, because if something happens to me, you're gonna know.
Well, you
So
know,
if
I
you're
was,
in Utah and they're in Utah and,
Well, we were all there together, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're popping up, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why would they even be looking at me? There would be no reason for them to, you know, to look for me, because how did they find me? That's what I wanna know.
I could probably tell you on that. I
Oh,
went
good.
to an IT security conference a few months ago.
Yeah.
And they were talking about biometric identification.
Uh-huh.
Facebook has an excellent biometric analysis where I'll take a picture of somebody and say, do you wanna tag these 6 other people in the
Yeah.
picture? And their names will show up.
Show up on
Which
it.
means they can do a biometric on your face, and
Mhm.
China has perfected this.
Yeah.
But they can figure out who you are just by the biometrics of how your eyes and everything.
It's going
That's
away.
the new ID, that's the new multi-factor authentication,
Mhm.
where either scanning your hand or a face, I don't think you're planting your face against
Yeah.
the screen, but
Sure.
they'll figure out who you are,
Yeah.
and once they
Voila.
figure out where you are
That's
on
the
that
thing.
picture,
Yeah.
the picture, your cameras have GPS now that will tell where you were when you took the picture. Bingo, they know where you
Yeah,
are.
yeah, there's a lot that's out there. But, so we'll go back to other information just really quick, cause I think, how am I doing on?
It's 8:15. I was
Oh,
just gonna
really?
say.
Darn it, okay.
Yeah.
This is good. You're
Yes.
gonna find this stuff to get other information. GuideStar is for nonprofits. Now, for me, I used it for my bad guys were doing their payoffs to each other through nonprofits. So I had 3 guys I was looking at, and I could see who was paying who for how much, so I knew what the kickbacks were. So again, my stuff's all, you know, for the bad guys. How I do it. Yelp is a great place to get information. I was looking at a guy in Poland, and I used Yelp and got his address and phone number. So it's good. Lots of wonderful stuff there. Wayback Machine we talked about, those are capturing tools. Those free capturing tools that are up that you may be interested in, we talked about that one. These are a lot of people that if you're interested, they have information that comes out, that you can get, you know, like monthly newsletters and stuff, and they'll help you with it. There's Cynthia's conference that she did. This guy is for the darknet, he's awesome. And we have some international ones, so you'll have all that up there. And I was hoping I had, let's keep going here. You don't do tour cases, do you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when the worst comes to worst, think about this for you. Things that, yes, I have done, and I admit it, is going and dumpster diving.
Yep.
And it is awesome information, whether you're doing it personal or in business. Lots of stuff that you get from there. So you want to be careful on that. Or I tell people, don't forget that human side. You have to call and talk to people. They could be working on the same case as you. They could be doing this as you. You know, you got to go out and talk to people. If you want information, instead of going online all the time, just call and ask, and you'll be amazed. I am every time somebody answers the phone, I'm amazed. So that's it, and you'll have all my information. We'll not talk about my ex-husband, I'm sorry, because we're running out of time. But generally, you just have to understand that you're providing just as much information as people are collecting, because they can't collect it if we don't provide it. And just be careful of what you're providing and what you're doing and what's important to you and what's not important to you, and think of all your social media, what you're putting out there, or your kids, what they're putting out there, because you have employers that are going out and looking at social media for hiring. You know, it's a big thing. Law enforcement, they have to provide all their information, all their social media as well. And there's a lot of people that have not gotten hired because of things that they found on social media. So you wanna be very careful of that, and that's it.
So who, do people hire you to do this, or,
Uh-huh.
so, do you like follow people and take pictures and that sort of thing, like?
I don't have to do that as much. I mean, you can follow people online.
That's
This
somebody
is
else's
amazing.
picture.
You can actually do that, just because how
Talk to
social they
their
are.
phones on and.
Oh, yeah, you can, there's a lot of different things you can do, but, I have, you know, I have gone out, I have done pictures, and that's still good to do. I mean, that old fashioned way
Yeah.
that people think about it, I never even had a computer, you know, when I started out, so it was all going in and social engineering. That's how I learned, was social engineering, getting into places I wasn't supposed to, getting information that, you know, they should have been quiet about and not told me. So it is all about information out there, and it's just collected differently now than what it was before.
You think about writing a book about all your,
I'm doing
exploits?
a chapter in a book for a college right now that they're putting out. But there's a whole bunch of us where we all do a chapter, and I'm hoping I can get that
You
done
haven't
in
been hired as
time.
a consultant for like TV show or anything
No,
like that?
no,
Okay.
I'm one of those people, I like to stay in the background, you
Who was it
know?
that was talking about WorldCon earlier?
Me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I love talking about that stuff. Like,
Some of the stuff you want, you know, I wouldn't talk about a lot of the cases that I do. I mean, I try to be really careful how I do that, just because, you know, there's, it's out there. Why do I wanna give away all the tricks that I do, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want anybody not talking to me anymore. I'm just a generally friendly person. But I mean, there's a lot of books that are out there and talk about things. I just like learning new things continuously, and you have to get more technical. And so that's one of the things that we've been pushing lately is within our field, we need to know technical stuff. I need to understand computers, what information is gonna be on here. Do I need this to be imaged so I can get additional information to help me with my case? Do I need somebody's phone? Do I need to know Python? Do I need to know SQL? Do I need to know different things as I'm doing work? And I understand going in and looking at logs, is that gonna help me? But we have to get more technical within an investigative industry with law enforcement. The judges need to our laws need to catch up. Our laws are so far behind. We have not caught up with the technology that we have. We probably never really will. And if we stop and look at the technology that we had when we were younger, you know, in our teens versus what our grandkids who are in their teens are having, you know, we never even thought about that. We were out playing and having a good time. Never thought that far of what could really be happening. And if you think in another 2025, you have those millenniums that are now in the workforce and are gonna be making those changes, what they're growing up on and what they are looking into our future to change. So, we have to get technical. I will say though, on a parting note, that our advantage that we will have is we know a code that the children from maybe the last 3 years going forward will not know, and that is cursive. We can do cursive because they cannot read it. I have grandkids, my grandson who's 18,
It's
I
true.
said, here's a letter from my uncle that died in the war, cause he's going into the military. I said, this is what he thought about the war. He picks it up and he's looking at it, and he's looking at me, and he's looking down, and he goes, I can't read it.
looks like
Oh,
shorthand.
What does it
now.
say? But if you think about, this was in 52, so the cursive was different than in the 70s, say, you know, it was different. But he could not read it. And then I have 20-year-olds, we're all sitting down, when I'm saying, oh, here, you have to sign this paper, because at work, I'm gonna put you on, to get my insurance. So she goes, okay, so what do I do? I said, well, sign it. She goes, what do you mean sign it? I said, cursively sign your name.
Jeez.
Then they're all like going, oh, wow, I have haven't done that in so long. So they all are going around, who could do the neatest ones, and then trying to remember the alphabets and what it is in cursive versus print.
How do they not? I mean, I guess
They don't
maybe they're not
teach it,
using
number
credit
one.
card,
They
they're
don't
using
teach.
Apple Pay, they're
They
using.
stopped teaching it.
They
They're
stopped
not
teaching that.
No, I know they don't.
Yeah.
How they do cursive, but how they sign their name. That's
They just kind of, it's just a scribble,
okay.
you know, because they
Use
don't.
Acrobat, you know?
Yeah, Acrobat is awesome. I really like my signature in Acrobat. That's great.
Right?
Yeah, but it just, you know, I mean, it's changing so much, but we will be that code of doing things in handwriting, and that'll be our code, because they're not gonna be able to read it.
No, I just started a new job and I signed everything in Acrobat.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, it was back and forth by PDFs.
Yes, yeah. I do that every day when I do a lot of, different agreements, and that's what they
And
are.
I do know cursive.
Mhm. Yeah, my handwriting is just as neat as my print, but most people don't, or the kids, you know, that's all it is. It's gonna be a whole change that they're gonna look on, wow, look at how what they used to have to do.
Oh,
They had to take the time to do this.
everything's intense.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you.